reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, texts 65 through 71, and the purport to 71. The 71 is on the board, but I'm going to read the 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70 by myself. So you repeat the last one, right? That's the system. Okay. Hare Krishna. So 65. Shastra yuktya sunipuna drita shraddhayanra uttama adhikari se taraye samsara. One translation. One who is expert in logic, argument in Krishna is classified as a topmost devotee. He can deliver the whole world. Text 66. Shastre yuktau cha nipuna sarvadha dritta nishchaya prauta shatto tikariya sa bhakta uttamamata. Actually, it's a anushtup. Shastre yukta nanipuna sarvata drita nishchaya praudha shatto dikariya sa bhakta uttamo mata. Okay, so this is actually interesting. So it's went from Bengali to Sanskrit. So this is Sanskrit. So this is a quote from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One who is expert in logic and in understanding the revealed scriptures, and who always has firm conviction and deep faith that is not blind, is to be considered the topmost devotee in devotional service. This purport, this verse appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2-17 by Srila Rupa Goswami. Then 67. Shastra yuktina he jane drita shraddhavan madhyama adhikari se mahabhagyavan. Translation. One who is not very expert in argument and logic, based on the revealed scriptures, but who has firm faith is considered a second-class devotee. He also must be considered most fortunate. Text 68. Oh, this is unlike. Also Sanskrit. Yeah. Ya shastra divani puna shraddhavan satchu madhyamaha. Translation. He who does not know scriptural argument very well, but who has firm faith, is called an intermediate or second-class devotee. This verse appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2-18. Text 68. Yahara komala shraddha se kanishta jana krame krame tenho bhakta haipe uttama. Translation. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte. But by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. Text 70. This is again Sanskrit. Yo bhavet komala shraddha sa kanishto nikadyate. Translation. One whose faith is not very strong, who is just beginning, should be considered a neophyte devotee. Purport. This verse also appears in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-19. Today, and now we come to the to our current verse. So please repeat after me. Rati prema tara tamye bhakta tara tama. Ekadasa skandhe tara kariyache lakshana. Rati prema tara tamye bhakta tara tama. Ekadasa skandhe tara kariyache lakshana. Anyone? Rati prema taratamye bhakta taratama. Ekadasha skante tara kariyache lakshana. Rati prema taratamye bhakta taratama. Ekadasha skante tara kariyache lakshana. Rati prema taratamye bhakta taratama. Ekadasha skante tara kariyache lakshana. Anyone else, ladies? No? Okay. Rati prema taratamye bhakta taratama. Ekadasha skante tara kariyache lakshana. Rati of attachment, prema and love. Taratamye, by comparison. Bhakta, devotee. Taratama, superior or superlative. Ekadasha, skandhe, in the 11th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Tara, of this. Kariyache, has made. Lakshane, symptoms. So, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. A devotee is considered superlative or superior according to his attachment and love. In the 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the following symptoms have been given. So you can repeat after me. A devotee is considered superlative or superior according to his attachment and love. In the 11th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the following symptoms have been given. So this is next, he's going to quote in the Srimad-Bhagavatam, we have these definitions of Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. It's actually from the Srimad-Bhagavatam 11th canto, the conversation between, I think, King Nimi and the Navayogendras. But that will be, those will be recited next Saturday, so we will read the purport today and talk about the purport a little bit, if I'm able to say something. So, purport by Prabhupada. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has stated that if one has developed faith in Krishna consciousness, he is to be considered an eligible candidate for further advancement in Krishna consciousness. So Aro Shraddha, sorry, I kind of like to comment because the purport is a bit long. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has stated that if one has developed faith in Krishna consciousness, he is to be considered an eligible candidate for further advancement in Krishna consciousness. So Aro Shraddha, we have this, the first part of the devotional service is faith. So when you have faith, then you are eligible to start devotional service. So without the faith, it doesn't start. So those who have faith are divided into three categories: Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta. First class, second class, and neophyte. A first-class devotee has firm conviction in the revealed scriptures and is expert in arguing according to the Shastras. He is firmly convinced of the science of Krishna consciousness. The Madhyama Adhikari, or second-class devotee, has firm conviction in Krishna consciousness, but he cannot support his conviction by citing Shastric references. The neophyte devotee does not yet have firm faith. In this way, the devotees are typed. So he's saying they're typed in this three ways. The first class devotee is very convinced, and he's able to fully connect the philosophy to the process. You know, he understands the philosophy as it relates to the Krishna consciousness, and he can perfectly explain it. The second class devotee also has a firm faith, but he's so convinced, he stays in Krishna consciousness, but he cannot explain the Shastras so perfectly or connect them perfectly to the process. So he's a very. He says in the earlier that he's extremely fortunate because of that. He's so fortunate. He said, Mahabhagyavan. He's extremely fortunate because despite his inability to even fully explain and even fully understand the philosophy of how it connects, he still has complete faith in the process. So that's the sign of his great fortune. Then the neophyte devotee is someone who's just beginning. So he says to be komala. That's the word used there. He's very tender and soft, like a small plant, like a small tree before it grows. It's a little sapling. So you can trample on it. You can easily destroy its ability to grow into a tree. So neophyte devotee is said to be. His faith in other words, hasn't grown into like a tree, like a strong tree. Therefore, he is, and that's understandable because he's just starting. He hasn't fully, put the roots in the ground. Continuing the purport, the standard of devotion is also categorized in the same way. Interesting. The standard of devotion is also categorized in the same way. So now Prabhupada is going to first he's talking about the types of devotees, and now he's saying the standard of devotion. Their level of devotion is categorized also in three ways. A neophyte believes that only love for Krishna or Krishna consciousness is very good, but he may not know the basis of pure Krishna consciousness or how one can become a perfect devotee. Sometimes in the heart of a neophyte there is attraction for karma, jnana, or yoga. When he is free and transcendental to mixed devotional activity, he becomes a second-class devotee. When he becomes expert in logic and can refer to the Shastras, he becomes a first-class devotee. The devotees are also described as positive, comparative, and superlative in terms of their love and attachment for Krishna. Positive, comparative, and superlative. Do you know anyone know what the word superlative means? I don't know the definition. Superlative, yeah.
The most, we say, the highest.
The highest, okay.
Higher.
Okay. Positive, comparative. So this.
What's comparative?
Yeah, that's a good question. Comparative.
So
Yeah. So I guess it's like an elegant way of elegant English way of saying like good, better, and best or something. Like, someone is positive, it's very good, but someone is comparative, that he's compared to the first one, he's better, and then superlative, he's the best. So I guess it's good, better, best, like we say. It should be understood that a Madhyama Adhikari, a second-class devotee, is fully convinced of Krishna consciousness, but cannot support his conviction with Shastric reference. A neophyte may fall down by association with non-devotees because he is not firmly convinced and strongly situated. The second-class devotee, even though he cannot support his position with Shastric reference, can gradually become a first-class devotee by studying the Shastras and associating with first-class devotees. I find this interesting, is that the second-class devotee becomes a first-class devotee by associating with first-class devotees. So it's very important to associate with first-class devotees. However, if the second-class devotee does not advance himself by associating with a first-class devotee, he makes no progress. There is no possibility that a first-class devotee will fall down, even though he may mix with non-devotees to preach. Conviction and faith gradually increase to make one an Uttama Adhikari, a first-class devotee. Homa Yajna Timirantashya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatantikam Vanteham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahakanara Gunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahakana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamama Hari Priye Vanchakalpatrupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So is this the instructions to Sanatana Goswami, right? These are the So this process is a science. It's not sentimental. If you follow it strictly, it actually works. So the warning here is that the second-class devotee, although he is very firmly situated, he doesn't leave Krishna consciousness. There's a chance he can be stuck on the second-class platform. However, the second-class devotee does not advance himself by associating with a first-class devotee, he makes no progress. So Prabhupada is emphasizing that the association with a first-class devotee. The other thing that, I want to continue this point about this process is a science, is that because the second-class devotee is not, he cannot support his practice with his shastra. He doesn't connect all the points in the Bhagavad Gita and the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam to the process. So he cannot fully connect how it works. He has full faith. He sticks to the process because he's become very fortunate. He has been blessed by the pure devotee. So he has this ability to stick to the process for a long time. But he does not fully understand the process, how it fully works. Only the first class devotee understands the philosophy, and the process, and can support it with Shastra. So this is why the second class devotee has to associate with someone who does understand the philosophy, the first class devotee, so that he can also gradually, understand this, follow this scientific process and become an Uttamadhikari. So I find it personally very surprising. I myself have been in ISKCON a long time, and I kind of find that I am not very, I'm not very progressed. I'm not being humble. I'm just being realistic here, and I contributed to this fact that I don't understand this process is a science. I kind of have a sentimental approach to the process, so I don't understand that Prabhupada gave certain basic points of how to practice the process. The first point Prabhupada made was, you're not this body. If you somehow keep forgetting that point, you're not this body, you cannot make any advancement in Krishna consciousness. It just doesn't work. I'm sorry. Because like one way to explain this is in the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna explains the yoga process. His definition of yoga, does anyone know what Krishna's definition of yoga is in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? Anyone? Sorry? No. What's the definition of yoga? The word, Patanjali has a definition of yoga. Yeah, 1 second. Patanjali has a definition which is called yoga chitta vritti nirodha, is to stop the churnings of the mind. That's Patanjali's definition. But Krishna has a definition. Yeah, what was your... Sorry? Anyone else? Yeah. Yeah. That's the definition. Krishna's definition of yoga is sannyas. Or vairagya, sannyas. That's his definition of yoga. Because he said no one can become a yogi unless he gives up the desire for sanskarification. In other words, you can actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, especially in that chapter and all the chapters following, the word yogi by Prabhupada is translated as devotee very often. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that the Prabhupada often uses, he translates the word yogi as devotee. Have you noticed that? Anyone has noticed this? So in the 7th chapter, last verse, so Prabhupada, the word is yogi in the Sanskrit, but Prabhupada says devotee, because Krishna is talking about a person who is most intimately united with Krishna in yoga. So that he is a devotee. That kind of yogi is a devotee. So yogi is the platform, it's the basic platform, and the best of yogis is the devotee. So you could read this definition of yoga by Krishna in the second verse of the 6th chapter, that what is called renunciation is the same as yoga, because no one can become a yogi without giving up his desire for sanskarification. So you could by the same logic that Prabhupada does often interchange the word yogi with devotee, you could say that one cannot become what is known as What is known as sannyas or renunciation is the same as Krishna consciousness, because without giving up the desire for sense gratification, you cannot become a devotee. Well, no one can become a devotee without giving up the desire for sense gratification. Because yoga this is the basic platform of yoga. The highest yoga is bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada very brilliantly, when he started ISKCON, he just explained this basic point: you are not this body. He accomplished his whole goal of being a yogi or being a vairagi, being a sannyasi, is by just accepting you're not this body. Because once you accept you're not this body, you automatically give up sense gratification. You will not consider sense gratification the goal of life. You will not overindulge in sense gratification. You will just accept sense gratification as is needed to maintain the body, because you know you're not the body, right? So this is one of the basic points of the science of Krishna consciousness. And this is perhaps the biggest problem devotees have, is that they cannot forget this, because we are so much involved with taking care of the body, especially if you're a householder. but it's so important that we always have to come back to this point, because without this point, you cannot actually make any progress in Krishna consciousness. That's just one point. There's talking about how a Madhyama Adhikari, he has a firm faith, but he doesn't always. He cannot explain the philosophy always very well, or cite the Shastra, or connect the dots like this. Like here, I just connected some dots with the second verse of the sixth chapter to the process. But I think a lot of people, devotees, read through this and don't make this connection that you cannot become a devotee without giving up sense gratification, giving up the desire for sense gratification. Prabhupada's translation is, he doesn't say to give up sense gratification, he gives up the desire for sense gratification. This is a technical point, because you have to accept sense gratification to maintain the body, but you give up the desire for sense gratification, meaning you give up the desire to indulge in more sense gratification that's required for the maintenance of the body. So anyway, this process is very scientific, and if you follow this process very scientifically, very carefully, like a science, then you will make very good progress if you understand how it works. And so the first thing is this, and give up sense gratification, or accepting you're not the body. And the other one is the chanting of the holy name. Trinada Bishunichana Torori Vasa Estina Amanina Manatina Kirtaniya Sadahari. We should chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, considering ourselves like straws on the street or grass, and be more tolerant than a tree, and be ready to accept, give all respects to others. We have to accept this mood of humility in chanting the holy name, and especially do not ever disrespect devotees or offend devotees. That is the biggest obstacle to devotion. So if you chant in this, if you just do those two things, you firmly are convinced you're not this body, and you chant the holy name in this way, you make great progress in Krishna consciousness. But the first class, associating with the first class devotee is also very important. Accepting of Guru is so essential in Krishna consciousness. It's kind of mystical. This Guru Tattva is such a mystical point, because we say Ado Gurvashrayam, that the first step of accepting this process is accepting shelter of a spiritual master, and then taking initiation from him, and then getting trained by him. So that's the beginning of the process. But if you notice, the end of the process, what does Prahlad Maharaj pray for when he sees the Lord directly? What is his prayer? What does he want? What does he want? What is at least one of the things he prayed for? Anyone remember? Sorry? Yeah. He said, I was falling into a, into the ditch of material life because of associating with so many material desires one after another. But my spiritual master, Narada Muni, he saved me and elevated me to the transcendental platform. Therefore, how can I leave his service? So he was directly seeing Krishna, but he accepted. He prayed to Krishna, please do not, please. He didn't actually ask Krishna to be his servant. He asked Krishna to be eternally his spiritual master servant. So, and there are two other instances of devotees who directly saw Krishna, but this was their prayer also. And Prabhupada mentioned this in the purport of in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when Prachaparudra, who also directly saw the Lord, Mahaprabhu asked him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am the servant of your servants, and I am my prayer." Makes this point that I'm making, that the highest aspiration, the highest benediction that one can pray for is to become the servant of one's spiritual master, to become the servant of a devotee. And Prabhupada, in that purport, he mentions Prahlad Maharaj, which I just mentioned. He also mentions Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj was given a benediction by Kuvera. Kuvera was given a benediction because his brother had been killed by the Yakshas, so he decided to destroy the whole race of the Yakshas, and then Yaksha Raj, Kuvera, asked him not to kill all the Yakshas, so he stopped killing them. And then he was very pleased with Dhruva Maharaj, and asked him, please accept the benediction. And Kuvera he's like the most wealthy person in the universe. He basically, Kuvera, he's the treasurer of the demigods. So he has a lot of benedictions to give, and the only benediction, Dhruva Maharaj, and by the way, Dhruva Maharaj had also directly seen the Lord. He had meditated, so the glorious devotee, he just for 6 months he was able to, attain perfection in yoga and see the Lord directly. And so he already had that fortune. But what did he, after seeing the Lord, what was his prayer? He prayed to Kuvera that may I be the servant of the devotees. So it's such an interesting point that this process is so dependent on the mercy of Guru, of service to Guru. It is simply service to Guru, because we say every morning we say Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasado Yasya Aprasada Nakati Kutopi. This is very mystical, because you're saying basically that you cannot serve Krishna you can only serve Krishna by serving Guru. In other words, if you don't please Guru, Krishna is not pleased. So there is no service to Krishna without pleasing Guru. So Gurus, in other words, in the ultimate object, there is no service to Krishna besides that of serving the Guru. So of course the Guru tells you to serve Krishna, but if you're serving Krishna, it does not please your Guru, it doesn't please Krishna. So in other words, it's this Guru Tattva is so mystical in the sense that it's the beginning of the process. It's also the end of the process, because you cannot, at the end of the day, you cannot do anything for Krishna without it being pleasing to Guru in the first place. So these are some of the elements of the science of Krishna consciousness by which we can make progress from the neophyte stage to the intermediate stage to the advanced stage. Prabhupada's main point here is the association with the first class devotee or the Guru or someone on the level of our Guru, as being the way to get there, because he is the one who can help us understand where we are stuck. If you may have been so fortunate to become a second class devotee and stay steady for many years, or stay in the process for so many years, but you feel yourself stuck. So who is going to help us understand how we are stuck? What is the problem? What we are misunderstanding? What are we not getting? How we are not making the next step, forward? It is the first class devotee. It is the spiritual master, and Prabhupada says association with him. The association with the spiritual master is his association is so powerful. He doesn't have to maybe tell you exactly, but just his association, just his presence is enough to make us kind of get some enlightenment. So please try and take shelter of your spiritual master, of the spiritual devotee, through his instruction. If he is still in this world, many of us have lost our spiritual master. They have left this world, so we have to take shelter of their instructions. And take shelter of others, advanced devotees. But the association of the pure devotee is the first class devotee is the main way we may make progress. But like Prabhupada said, the science is you're not the body. You have to chant, and you chant the holy name without with humility and without offending the other devotees. So these are some of the things to become a first-class devotee eventually. And I, being here in the association of so many devotees, I live mostly alone in Iceland. So I'm taking this opportunity to ask for your blessings that I may make some progress towards the first-class platform. I don't know where I am. I'm probably somewhere on the neophyte or... But the blessings of Vaishnavas are essential to making progress in Krishna consciousness. So I ask your blessings since I have this opportunity to be here. Any questions or comments? Or, yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
My question is because maybe a very important point is if we are not realizing it. Working. If you are not realizing as devotees that sense gratification is not good for advancement, then actually almost everything is failed, or actually we cannot really advance.
No, zero chance.
And I can guess you meditated a lot of this point because you explained it really, how to say, seriously. My question is, may you could a little bit please further explain on the point that actually we know also from Shastra, it is some kind of sense gratification, okay, or bona fide, so-called, also for devotees, mainly for grihastas, but also for brahmacharis a little bit, we have some sense gratification in a bona fide way, in a Krishna-conscious way.
Yeah.
And please, if you can, how to say, explain a little bit, okay, what is like a sense gratification in a good way and what in a not good way? What is hindrance and what is okay, and how we can balance or how we can see it. What is what is favorable for us, or what is and in which point is maybe not favorable. If you can please explain a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm the authority on this, but what because it's true what you're saying. I've been meditating on this for a while because it's and I'm realizing more and more how it works, and I cannot what just came to me honestly this morning. I mean, because this is how Krishna consciousness process. You cannot keep getting these revelations, things that you've heard from the time you were like new bhakta, how they actually are so important. This point of the Prabhupada in a master stroke, he made this without having to tell us you have to, take sannyas internally. He just tells you, you're not this body. If you understand you're not the body, you automatically will only accept as much sense gratification as required just to maintain the body. Body is not you. Body needs sleep. It needs sleep and it needs food and other things, like just to maintain it. But as long as you know you're not the body, you understand what is too much and what is too little. It's as long as you keep that as a base understanding, that's the first thing. My first point is that's my latest kind of realization is that if you keep that at the forefront of your mind, I'm not this body, then you will understand better how to not overindulge in sankarification, because it's not good for the body to get too much of anything, to get too much food or too much other forms of pleasure, because it makes, So Prabhupada gave very practical instructions. He talks about how we shouldn't eat too much. There are some letters. He said we should, temple devotees should try and eat simple during a week, and have a feast on Sundays. So, because we do have, especially if you're from the West. Like I joined in Germany, ISKCON Germany, and that was a wild, passionate time very, very dynamic and but devotees were like, they eat so much prasadam. There was there was like mountains of food, but the Prabhupada's, I've seen some letters, that where he talks about, you should, even he says you should not use sugar during the week. You should just, you should just on Sundays have a big feast. And therefore, then you should allow your lust to kind of get all your senses need. And so the point is that we should try and eating is a very big part of, if you want to make spiritual advancement, is that we should be very controlled in our eating. We should always not starve the body. We should not make the body go, but we should not overindulge too much. And there's, I want to read one important, very inspiring or very enlightening verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this story of the prostitute and Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur, he initiated the prostitute she tried to make him fall down, and instead she became his disciple, and he told her to sit in the kutir where in the place where he had been sitting before, and worship Tulsi and chant Hare Krishna all day, so anyone, a trick question, does anyone know, did she get love of Godhead just from him giving it to her, or did he get love of Godhead at some later point? Anyone remember? So I'll read it. So it's interesting. So she worshipped the tulasi plant, following in the footsteps of her spiritual master. Instead of eating regularly, she chewed whatever food she received as alms, and if nothing were supplied, she would fast. Thus, by eating frugally and fasting, she conquered her senses. And as soon as her senses were controlled, symptoms of love of Godhead appeared in her person. So symptoms of love of God appeared when she actually conquered her senses, and she conquered her senses by fasting, by not fasting, but just not serving the body whenever the body wanted something, being like a king on a throne. The body is like a king on your throne. You keep serving it like a loyal servant. No, she instead, as the soul, took charge of the body and told the body, okay, if food comes, I will eat it. If it doesn't come, I won't eat. She didn't make the body rule her life, in other words. And then by doing this over some time, her senses were completely conquered. And when her senses were conquered, then love of God had appeared in her person. So Haridas Thakur gave her the seed of prema, but the prema grew up as soon as her senses were conquered. So this is how the process works. It works in this way that we have to figure out the fine balance of taking care of the body, but at the same time not being completely ruled by the body. When all the senses want, I need this, I need that. So this is so Prabhupada didn't recommend too much austerity at the same time, because the austerity is the austerity we take for preaching and so on. But it's a good thing to, for example, fast on Ekadasi. It is a fast day, just to experience this, have this experience that for one day I am in charge, not the body. Soul is in charge, the body is not in charge, like that. So, these are some of my thoughts. But it's just very interesting how The definition of yoga is sannyas, and whenever Arjuna when Arjuna asked Krishna, because another definition of yoga is actually the ability to concentrate the mind on Krishna continuously. That is also another definition of yoga. And then Arjuna asked Krishna, I don't think I can follow this process because my mind is like a turbulent wind. It's more hard to control the wind. It's easier to control the wind than the mind. And what does Krishna say as the technique to control the mind?
It's possible by practice and
Detachment, vairagya. Yeah. So same thing, vairagya, sannyas. It's the same. So Krishna again says that the way you control the mind is by detachment, sannyas. So, you have to. So, and I like I say, I think Prabhupada's brilliance was by saying one way to establish this, because the point is, if you just say, I have to deny my body this, I have to deny my body that, but if you still think you're your body, it doesn't really work. You understand? It doesn't work to starve the body if you think you're the body still, because then you're still in Maya. But as soon as you just accept, I'm not this body, then it makes sense to be renounced, and then from there you can actually make advancement in Krishna consciousness. So yeah, so this is some of my thoughts. It's a very interesting. This process is so interesting because after decades I'm still these basic points. They're so hard. They're so subtle. Although they are so easy and simple, they're so subtle. They're so easy to forget or miss or to bypass, and because our mind is so passionate, it's so full of desires and makes us. We are such hot. At least I am such a hothead, such a sentimental hothead that I don't get these basic points. It's like it's mentioned here that a devotee may be in the process a long time, like a Madhyama Adhikari, but he is not understanding the process because he hasn't, So, but he's still in it. So I'm saying the basic principle that I think Prabhupada taught, the first thing he taught us, and we should never put behind us as something for neophytes, is you're not this body. Because once you stop thinking you're not, if you forget you're not the body, then it's very difficult to make progress. Even if you accept this sannyas principle that because if you're like a crazy person, you're denying you're the body, but you're denying your body. So you have to understand why is sannyas important? Because you are not this body. If you indulge in a body, you cannot. The soul is identifying too much with the body and can never make any progress. Yes. Anyone else a question? Someone else? Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. There was in the purport, Srila Prabhupada wrote that the second class devotee needs to associate with the first class devotee, otherwise he cannot make any progress.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about it. So this probably means Vapu, surely also, but also Vani, because many times it's not really possible to associate directly with the spiritual master. Maybe you can explain a little bit this point.
This is very interesting because is anyone here a disciple of Kadamba Swami? Anyone here? Yeah. So I listened to, when he was the last year before he left this world, I listened to all the audio that was coming out, all the YouTube. They have a YouTube channel. So all the lectures he was giving, I was listening to all of it. I was just hanging to every word because he's such an interesting Vaishnava. And he made this. These lectures, especially the last ones, are just classic. Everyone should hear them. They're just classic piece of spiritual instruction. But he gave this two examples of. He combined these two analogies into one. So one was the analogy of the flying doctor in Australia. So in Australia you have. Because Australia, in the interior of Australia, people, they live so far away from each other. Each one of them has like a farm of 1,000 acres or something with sheep, or I don't know how it is, but so the a doctor in that area, he needs a pilot's license and fly like a small plane to fly to different farms to take care of people. That's the only way they can get medical attention or just medical visits. That was one way that was one analogy. The other analogy is the tire that has a little bit of a puncture in it. So the tire has a puncture, and you're driving or either cycling or driving, and if you just keep pumping tire every 3 hours or something, you can keep driving, or cycling. You notice this, because there's a small puncture, so it slowly goes down. But if you just keep pumping it, it's okay. So he compares the devotees, his disciples, that he's like the flying doctor that pumps the tire of their spiritual enthusiasm. So he comes, he pumps the tire. They're all fired up and to go on. And after some time, after some months or maybe a year, their enthusiasm is going down, and they're falling more into Maya. And then the Guru comes, he's like a flying doctor. He flies in and pumps the tire. They're all inspired again. And then he said, "But now I'm leaving, so you have to go beyond needing my personal association to come and inspire you." So this is the challenge that we. I mean, I personally, I just met my spiritual master in USA last month, Radhanaswami, and oh my God, it's just he didn't. I mean, I had like a one-sentence conversation with him. He was very non-verbal actually. He walked around and smiled at people because his health is not so great, so he's, I think, conserving his energy by not speaking too much. When he gives class or he gives kirtan, he uses his voice. Otherwise, he tries to conserve his energy. But I felt so uplifted by him. It's just I don't think I could make any advancement if I wouldn't have his association like this, personally. So, but then I know he is, like especially those who are disciples of Prabhupada, they're all in their 70s, or some of them in their 80s or 90s. So it's like there's not much. We know that there's only a few years until they're all gone. All those who are disciples of Prabhupada. So we cannot. So we have to come to the point of associating with the Guru in the heart. Like Prabhupada said, his spiritual master is always with him. So Prabhupada, we have to figure out, this is why this process it's a science. We have to really practice like a science and really try to make advancement so that we can actually conquer the mind. Once you conquer the mind, the super soul is reached, or the Guru is reached, so you can always associate with the Guru. You're not dependent on his physical association once you make enough advancement. And he will also, Guru will also come to us in dreams. He does that. That Prabhupada said that. I think, did Maharaj say that? Did Maharaj say that? He will come in your dreams? Karnama He did say that, yeah. So that also happens. There's like in Prabhupada, his Guru came in his dream. Prabhupada was like playing the role of of us, being like one of us. He said he was entangled in his family life. He had a business, he had children and so on. And then his Guru kept him on his dream and telling him to take sannyas. So it's like, so that's one way, I guess, the Guru can also come. But this association with Guru is so important. But according to Bhagavad Gita, once you conquer the mind, once you attain this platform of yoga, then you are able to always associate with your spiritual master. But that's the platform we have to come to eventually, because we cannot be forever dependent on his physical association. But yeah, so yeah, it's a tough one. But his physical vapu is very important. It's very uplifting. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to associate with the spiritual master, take it. Of course, be responsible for your service. You associate with him by doing your service, but you should also take the opportunity to meet him. There's actually a story in the Bible. I forgot the story, but it was an interesting story about someone making this point, and Kirtananda Maharaj made this point, I think, to Prabhupada or something, and Prabhupada accepted it. While the spiritual master is there, you should try and take advantage of his association as much as possible. And but eventually, we have the instructions. The association with the spiritual master is to surrender to his instructions. Really, so that's how you associate with him. And the more you do that, the more you will conquer your mind, senses, and you can always associate with him through his instructions, and like that. So it's, like I said, this Guru Tattva is so mystical. It's actually one of the most difficult tattvas to understand in Krishna consciousness. I hope I answered your question. It's just some points, from here and there. I'm not on that platform of associating with my guru all the time. I'm still a neophyte, so all I can do is repeat what I remember, or my little glimpses of revelation I've had here. Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm wondering about how does not identifying with the body, how does this look as an internal process, or how does day-to-day look of somebody who doesn't identify with the body? We know that it's external, as you mentioned, the foot, for example, but how is his or her mental process in this regard?
Oh, his mental process.
Yeah, so how does this? Is it always a thought? Okay, I'm a soul, so everything that you do, you think yourself as a soul, or? Yeah,
so it's called sadhana bhakti. That is how it's called sadhana bhakti. So sadhana bhakti means, like, it doesn't make any sense. If you think you're the body, it makes no sense to get from Mangalarti, like none. You understand? So all the things we do is expression of the point that I am not this body. I'm a soul. This is why I have to get up from Mangalarti. I have to wake up this body. The body wants to. I went to sleep at 11. Mangalarti is at 4:30. I only get 4 hours of sleep. I'm not saying you should do that every day, but I'm saying when it happens, you still get up and go for Mangalarti like that. So this following sadhana bhakti. Know the conviction that I'm not my body, I'm a soul. I have to serve my spiritual master. I have to engage in a relationship with my spiritual master by chanting my rounds every day and trying to chant them attentively every day and following all the principles. That is how you apply this. You're not the body. So it's called sadhana bhakti. Really, sadhana bhakti. Why is sadhana bhakti? Is actually the conviction to do it. The logic behind doing it is that I'm not this body. This is how practically doing. So if you what's the sign of someone who bloops or falls in Maya? Is that he stops doing his sadhana. He just goes. He even stops. He may even start eating meat. Because why? Because he stopped accepting the truth that he is not this body. So sadhana bhakti is the practical. Engaging sadhana bhakti, the logic of it is that I'm not this body. I'm a soul. I'm trying to become free from this body, and it takes practice to do that. It takes really practice, and especially chanting attentively. And chanting attentively is so important. In Bhakti Loka, it's an interesting book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur called Bhakti Loka. Have you read it? It's very interesting. It's very short. It's only on the first 2 verses, or the verses 2 and 3 or something, of the Anikulas or Sankapa, the 6 things favorable and 6 things unfavorable to devotional service. So he gives us essays. And in one of them he says, if you don't chant attentively, you don't even have the ability to do devotional service. It's very interesting, and I think it's actually. If you don't chant attentively, if you don't hear very clearly your rounds that day, your day is simply karma yoga because your consciousness is not fully connected So you're still doing work for Krishna, like Krishna karma, but you cannot call it bhakti yoga because you haven't really connected the consciousness to the service, So it's so important. If you really want to serve Krishna, you really have to figure out how to chant attentively. It's so important. And it's in one sense it's so simple. It's just you just have to know that your mind is a madman, and therefore you just make it attentive. But at the same time, it's so difficult because. But Krishna says the way to do that is to vairagya. The vairagya, the tool to become attentive, is vairagya. So this is why it's the beginning. Definition of Krishna is sannyas, and then for yoga, and then the technique of focusing the mind is you keep trying it, but with the mood of detachment, vairagya or detachment. So this detachment is so important. This accepting you're not this body is so important. Without that, it's just you don't have you don't make any progress really. Okay, I hope anyway. Sorry, can't answer your questions better. If anyone else has a last question, we have 5 minutes. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, you're also talking about the topic of offenses.
Oh.
And
yeah.
I'm, let's say, always wondering, what is really an offense? How do I see that I make an offense? Is it an offense when I do this, or is it not? And maybe you can explain a little bit this topic.
What is an offense?
Yeah.
It's displeasing Krishna, basically. It's very simple. It's displeasing Krishna. When Krishna is not pleased, your progress is blocked. And the most serious offense is to offend his devotees. So, yeah. Was this disrespect? I mean, offenses. Another way to say offense is that it's disrespect of. It's a form of disrespect in one way or another, or disobedience. Another way to say it, you're disobedient to something. Krishna has told you to do something, and you don't do it. It's disobedience. So there's also disrespect, and it's displeasing. So at the same time, it's displeasing. So Krishna is not pleased when you do the opposite of what he tells you to do. So it's disobedience, it's disrespect, it's displeasure, and it displeases Krishna. So that's kind of offense is that. And if you want to make sure you never ever fall down, always respect every devotee, even if he just walked in the door. If you never disrespect the devotee, you will never fall down. You will never, because not just that you will not displease Krishna, but you will please all the devotees, and Krishna's Kripa Shakti is invested in his devotees. So Krishna's mercy comes through devotees. So you cannot. And my Bhakta leader, he told me this because he understood I wasn't getting the point. He said, you can only make advancement in Krishna consciousness by the mercy of the devotees. Because he understood that I had not gotten this point. I just didn't think it was important to please the devotees. So you can only make advancement in Krishna consciousness by pleasing your devotees. So if you're always respectful and nice, and the devotees are very pleased, and you make a lot of advancement very fast. And Krishna is very pleased. So very important point. This is why I said it. First, you're not the body, never respect it. And chant the holy name very attentively, and never ever offend the devotee. Always respect and devotees. If you do those three things, you make very good progress in Krishna consciousness. That's my latest realization. Maybe next year, if I come here and give another class, I'll give add some points or. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Hare Krishna.